So I've been running and managing my own business in Tokyo, Japan for over 6 years. And in that time I've made numerous mistakes that have cost me a lot of time and a lot of money. And so today I'll be sharing with you some of the main mistakes you could encounter when you come to Japan, particularly if you're coming as an entrepreneur or to create your own business, in the hopes that this could actually help you navigate those challenges and learn those lessons without having to pay the price for ignorance. And so with that out of the way, let's get started. So when you come to Japan to create your own business, one of the first decisions you're going to have to make is actually going to be choosing the right structure for your business. And that's basically going to be choosing between a Kojin Jikyo, a Godo Gaisha, or a Kabushiki Gaisha. And generally, most foreign entrepreneurs that come to Japan tend to lean towards choosing a Kojin Jikyo, a sole proprietorship, because it's easy to set up, it's actually very cheap, and so you might think that it's actually the safest option. But in fact, there are some very significant downsides that come with this business structure. And I think one of the main ones is going to be the fact that it's actually a lot more difficult to build any significant credibility with your clients, with the banks, or even with your investors. Also because there's actually no official structure behind your business. Ultimately, you are the one who's going to be responsible or liable for any debt or any legal issues that you might have. And after that, you're also going to face higher tax rates as your business grows. On the other hand, you have the Godo Gaisha, which could be the equivalent of an American LLC, and it's actually a great option, a very low-cost option, because you can actually register a Godo Gaisha as an official business for as little as 1 yen. And then on the other hand, you have also the Kabushiki Gaisha. This is basically the most respected business structure in Japan. It's saved for your big businesses, like your big banks, your big corporations, or any big business that might require lots of funding, that might eventually go public, or that you would like to sell in the future as well. Now, choosing the wrong structure for your business from the start could actually cost you a lot of time and a lot of money later down the line. So you have to make sure that you choose the right structure that aligns with the long-term goals of your business. Now, Japan has, unsurprisingly, a very complex and paperwork-heavy business environment. And everything from opening your bank accounts to actually registering your business requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of approvals, and a lot of in-person visits. And in that regard, some of the main mistakes you could make actually include getting rejected a ton because you didn't fill out the paperwork in the exactly expected way. And then on top of that, actually missing any deadlines when it comes to filing your taxes or registering your business could actually end up as additional fees or fines for your business. So that's also very important to keep in mind. And then also, but I think sideways, this is kind of a rite of passage for anyone who comes to Japan. When you go to the bank to open your bank account for the first time, you'll actually go there, fill out all the necessary paperwork, and then hand it to the teller, and they'll tell you, that's all great, we'll let you know in a few days once everything has been set up. And then a handful of days later, you'll get a letter from the bank telling you that your application has been rejected because you've made some minor mistakes. So you'll have to go back to the bank and do it all over again. These are things that are absolutely going to happen to you inevitably at least once. And so you have to make sure that you take enough time in advance in order to be able to anticipate for any mistakes or any challenges that could get in your way. And this could go from things as seemingly small as having to sign in all your documents, not with your pen, but with your actual income. Or if you're like me and you have a first name, a middle name, and then multiple last names, then it seems that just entering them into the system seemingly breaks down the servers and destroys the system entirely. So the key is to actually be patient, double check, triple check every single application form before you hand it in. And if you can, I would actually strongly suggest hiring a specialist. Here in Japan, we call them Gyosei Shoshi, and they will actually help you navigate the system without having to, once again, pay the price for ignorance. So Japan, as you might know, actually operates under a set of unspoken rules and etiquette that could actually make or break any relationship, be it a personal relationship or a business relationship. And as an entrepreneur coming to Japan, fresh out of international waters, some of the most common mistakes you could make actually include being too direct or too aggressive. Once you're actually in Japan and you start collaborating and dealing with others, you'll start to notice that negotiations tend to be very subtle. And you'll see that people will actually never tell you just squarely yes or no, but they'll always be dancing delicately around the right answer, just with the general intention of trying to make everything as harmonious as possible. Another thing is that you have to remember that Japan operates under a very strict hierarchy system. And you will certainly feel it if you're working for a Japanese company, although if you're working for your own business or if you come here to create your own business, you might not feel it as much unless you're collaborating or dealing with other companies or other partners as well. Now, some of you are going to say that you don't really care about this, that you're going to do whatever you want. I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm going to open my own doors, open my own windows, make my own path through the country. But this is not back home. And if you want to have a successful business here in Japan, then this is something very important that you need to keep in mind. Because in Japan, actually, word of mouth is a very important tool. And things like this could actually tarnish the reputation of your business. Look at it this way. You're already standing out. You're a foreigner entrepreneur. And so if you want to stand out anymore, you should make sure that you're standing out for the right reasons and not for any reason that could actually tarnish or damage the reputation of your business. Which actually brings me to our next point, which is ignoring the importance of trust. Here in Japan, people generally build relationships, both personal and professional relationships, with the idea of long-term in mind. And while you'll find that in the West, things tend to be a lot quicker and, in a sense, a lot more transactional as well. I'll give you this and you'll give me that money and I'll take this part and you'll take that part and we're all set and goodbye and that's it. In Japan, generally, the underlying idea tends to be, how can we continue doing this forever? And in order to be able to do that, you have to first build trust. Which brings me also to the idea that here in Japan there are basically two concepts, two ways in which you can express yourself. And one is called honne and the other one is called tatemae. One basically refers to how you really feel, how you really think. And the other one basically refers to how you actually express those feelings. And generally, one doesn't have to be a reflection of the other. Now, some of you might think that this is hypocritical and it's insincere and it's not clear and it's frustrating. And while sometimes it might be frustrating for us, that's not really the way that it manifests here in Japan. You'll see, rather than just saying yes or no head on, you actually find a way to navigate that idea with a little bit more refinement in order to keep the feelings and the thoughts of the other person into consideration as well. And so in your life as an entrepreneur, this also actually helps you be able to read between the lines and make your negotiations or your business operations a lot more harmonious as well, ideally. Now, even if you speak amazing Japanese, you should know that navigating the business world in Japan is an entirely different beast altogether. Because actually misunderstanding rules, regulations or contracts could create some very serious misunderstandings. And I think in that sense, if you're having some kind of legal misunderstandings, either if there are some terms in a contract that you have to sign that you don't fully understand, or on the other hand, if you have to give your contract for someone else to sign, and you're not able to fully express the terms and the conditions in your contract, then it's all these little nuances that could completely change the dynamic of the relationship. Because someone else is actually expecting something from you. Or on the other hand, you're expecting that someone else do something for you, but you're not actually able to fully express what it is that you expect. And if you're not able to have that clear line of communication between all parties, that's actually a sure way to get very frustrated, end up hating your business, shutting down your business, and getting on the first flight back home saying that you hate Japan. But, I mean, we both know that it's not necessarily Japan's fault. Now, on top of that, let's go back a little bit and talk a bit more about the lack of trust. Now, look at me, I'm a foreigner, and I can tell you from experience that, unfortunately, many Japanese clients and many Japanese suppliers might prefer dealing with a local before having to deal with a foreigner. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's going to be a subject for another video. Today I'm talking about it specifically from this point of view. Think about it, maybe for them there are many things, many nuances that they think you don't know or that you don't understand. And at the end, can you really blame them? It's probably true. There are many things and many nuances that you don't know and you don't understand. And some of them maybe you never will. And so that reputation and that trust actually has to be earned. You have to work for it. You're not guaranteed to have it, and you're also not entitled to have it. And so if this is something that you really want, then you have to be prepared to work for it. And you have to also accept that if a local has to work for it this much, then you have to work for it twice as hard. But then once again, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the more you work, the better you will get. And why wouldn't you want to get better? But of course, that's not the end of it, because we also have communication barriers. Now, all those little intricacies and nuances of the language in emails, phone calls, business meetings, anything else are actually very easy to misunderstand and misinterpret. And so if you don't have a Japanese co-founder, a Japanese partner, or anything like that, like for example, in my personal situation, I was actually fortunate enough to be able to marry my partner, my wife, well, they're both the same person, my business partner and my wife. And that actually makes a whole world of difference. So if you're not in that position, I would strongly suggest hiring a consultant, hiring an assistant, or hiring a lawyer that could actually help you bridge the gap. It's going to make an entire world of difference. Now, I think one of the most crucial and important mistakes you could make is actually not securing the right visa for you. You should know that not all visas allow you to work or allow for any business activities in the country. And you'll find that actually many foreigners come to Japan and start working illegally without even realizing. Because they think, well, I mean, I'm here for these many months, I might as well just get a job. But in fact, you're not allowed to work in the first place. And so, for example, the business manager visa is the standard choice, and I've made an entire video about this detailing the whole process, and it could actually be a very good option for you, but it does come with some very strict requirements. For example, you do need to have a minimum of at least 5 million yen in capital in a Japanese bank account. You also need to have a physical office in the country, and in some cases, a home office might not be enough to get you qualified. And on top of that, you also have to present a detailed business plan to the immigration authorities in the country. So you can go ahead and click the link in the description to learn everything you need to know about the business manager visa. But you should know that if you fail to secure that visa, that could eventually result in having your business shut down. So if you're not able to qualify for the business manager visa, you do have some other very good options, like for example, the startup visa in Japan. I've also made an entire series about this, going from absolute zero to actually having the visa in your hand. So if you're ready to take the first step, you should definitely go and watch this. So don't miss it, and I'll see you over there.